Howdy everyone, my name is Darshil Rayjada and today I'll be presenting my project Milestone AetherMart Advanced ETL Orchestration Architecture completed as a part of ISTM 622 Advanced Data Management course. So this Milestone 6 demonstrates how to design an end-to-end ELT system with orchestration, validation, governance and security foundation similar to the systems used by real companies like Amazon, Target, and Instacart, right? So let's go. So objectives. So in today's presentation, I'll be gonna explain the architecture of Ethermat's multi-channel ELT pipeline, how I orchestrate 19 dependent tasks with automated ordering, retries, and error propagations, how logging, lineage and audit tails were generated, how data governance and data security principles were embedded, and a real execution outputs captured on AWS EC2. So like overall the milestone represents a complete production style ETL engineering build, I would say. uh, why advanced orchestration matters are very important because nowadays in modern business run everything on data, right? Like companies like Walmart or Amazon ingest the data from dozens of systems, POS systems, mobile apps, supplier feeds, recommendation engines, and many more things, right? So even if one dataset fails to load properly, the entire chain of analytics can collapse, and so the orchestration will gonna ensure that predictable execution is there, no partial data loads, even driven task dependency like based on every event, and complete transparency into failures. So like this milestone will gonna implement this principles same for the Ethermat. So that's what mentioned over here, like the consistency across all EC2 instances, regular trust between every data set must be traceable, validated, and reproducible. Scalability again very important for all type of channels and reliability. Okay, so a pipeline DAG. So like here you can see the pipelines directed acyclic graph. So the DAG communications execution order, for example, a customer's load before orders, right? A production load before reviews, or a staging loads before a transformation. So this prevents foreign key conflicts and ensure a consistent relational modeling. So this mirrors real case example, like let's say Netflix data pipeline user account must load before the user activity logs, right? So that's what mentioned over here. The root node, the parallel stage task for Ethermart, like category, suppliers, customer, product in that sequence, then a transformation layer, load layer, and the final validation where we're gonna ensure a data quality, foreign key integrity, and there is no null violation. Okay, which will allow each arrow enforces a strict dependency, preventing out of order execution. Orchestration architecture. So I built a custom lightweight orchestration using Python, which includes a task decorator to register each ELT step, then a dependency graph which stored as a directory, dynamic runtime engine to resolve order, and error-aware workflow to stop any downstream task, and output JSON again that records the metadata. This is like just a conceptually similar to Airflow, perfect, or like it's but tailored specifically for Ethermat's need. So yeah, I'll show you the script and explain you what I have done actually in AWS EC2 error handling strategy. So before going over here, let's go to EC2 and I'll explain you what I have done exactly. So yeah. So basically, you can see over here, first I have started that all I used milestone 5, instance. So all CSV were already there in the root folder. Then I have created one folder as orch underscore logs to capture all the logs as a directory. I have created it. Then I have created a virtual environment as you can see over here, right? I have created a virtual environment, and then I have created one Python file using nano Darshil orchest 2.py. Okay, and initially, like this is another instant, but basically initially I got an error. Uh, so I'll have to update the APTs and I'll have to install some libraries related to MariaDB. And yeah, again I went to virtual environment and then run pip install MariaDB, so it did worked. Okay, and after this I have created a user, uh, which I have given all the access. Okay, so you can see over here under the MariaDB, I have created a user which is on another instance again, and I have given all the access to the AetherMart, which is my database name and flush privileges. Okay, and then basically I run that file. Okay, you can see over here, I just run that file, right? And you can see it started running all the pipelines. First, it created a schema, then again a loading stage. So you can see a loading categories. So it also shows how much time it took and how much records it's updated. So 10 categories, then 40, suppliers, 100,000 customers, then again 200,000 orders, right? 1500 reviews, all the things loaded, transformed, and then on the review, it gave me an error that incorrect integer value. It's invalid for column Ethermart reviews waiting at row 2. Okay. Task load reviews fail, critical task fail, stopping. Why? Because like if you remember, just for cleansing purpose, we have done like rating should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if they have not given, then it should be null. Okay, not any other random value. So, and null is not an integer value. That's why given an error that load reviews failed, and also it given summary that this much duration, 17 task success and one fail, which is load reviews. Okay, and then a database disconnected. So after that, what I did basically is that like environment dependency setup is done, right? Database security configuration is done by giving all the access. So the remaining part is verification and audit. So if you remember, we have created a orch dot underscore logs folder, right? Like a directory. So I just listed that directory by ls command, so which represent a proof of execution that after a Python script runs, these commands allow us to inspect the generated evidence, right? And ls confirms that log files were actually created, right? So you can see over here like there are log files over here. So again, I have used a cat command again, cat under orch underscore logs, ethermart complete ELT log. So basically, while this cat command displays the internal content of the logs and the JSON result file, proving that the pipeline not only ran, but like a successfully recorded its start times, end times, and data recorded counts, which you can see over here that for each of that you can see the start time creating schema with staging tables, then again like how many record dates are updated, again start time, what are the end time and which task failed, right? And a summary again with the number of counts record updated and how much time it took. Okay. So yeah, and after that, result start dot JSON, again a JSON result file, which will gonna give us like for each state, each schema, like there will be a particular run ID allotted to that task. So that run ID will gonna show okay duration, records, if there is any error, like you can see for all this customer product categories it ran without any error, so it's showing duration and success. And for reviews it got failed, so it should show, which you can see over here, load reviews status fail, this much duration it took, and because the error in row 2, which is like not an integer value, right? So yeah, and it attempted 3 times, so that's what it's showing, right? So yeah, this is what I have done, and I'll explain you about the Python file as well. So this is my Python file over here. What I did basically is like the core concept of a DHE based orchestra. trader, right? So I built a custom orchestrator that treats the ETL process as a directed acyclic graph rather than a linear script. So like you can see the script where I've used a topological sort function. Mm, like why it matters, because like this will gonna ensure that the data integrity. For example, the script automatically gonna calculate that it cannot load orders until customers and products are successfully loaded, right? If you change the order of code lines, the logic still holds because it relies on dependency definition. So yeah, that's what it gonna shown over here. Then architecture, I followed ELT. So using MariaDB split into three distinct stages, right? Like a staging, like stage one will be staging where the code extract raw data from CSV and load into a temporary staging table. Let's say stage underscore customers, right? So this will gonna create an exact copy of the source data. Then a transformation. So transformation happens inside the database using a SQL. The transform and validate function clean the data, right? Fixing the date format, orders, nullifying the empty emails in customers and all these things. And then a production where basically only clean data moved from staging to the final production table, right? And then a reliability and robustness. So basically, to ensure the pipeline is production grade, I implemented automatic fault tolerance. So you can see in the code like retry with back off logic right over here. What will this gonna do is basically retrieve it back of decorator wraps critical databases tasks. So if a database lock or network glitch occurs, the script doesn't crash. It wait 2 seconds and a 4 second and retries automatically up to maximum retries. Okay. And then yeah, like a system doesn't just run, it monitor itself and validate the output as well. Like data quality gate, so it will there's a validate underscore data function runs at the end, which will gonna execute the SQL queries to check if uh like a record counts meet the minimum threshold defined in config file. And then yeah, logging, so it generates a timestamp logs and or underscore logs folder and a JSON summary file in result underscore star.json containing the execution time for every task, which allows us for any performance auditing if needed, right? So this is what I have done in script. Let's go back to a PPT. So yeah, from current slide. Okay, so error handling strategy, I already explained you like a three retry attempts, exponential back of 2 seconds, 4 seconds, and 8 seconds. So if all, if still unsuccessful, the task is marked fail and dependent task are skipped. So this will gonna prevent a cascading data issues. Like let's say in real business and Uber pipelines, if driver profile ingestion fails, trip and payment processing downstream must pause to avoid any misaligned reporting, right? So that's what explained over here. Then about logging strategy and real snippet. So like I have shown you a detailed log file and a visualization file as well. The logs include timestamps, row count, SQL execution confirmation, retry messages, and summaries as well. So these artifacts allow both, like product management team, engineering teams, and even auditors to validate the correctness. So this mirrors how companies like, Capital One use log libraries such as, like SLF4J, again specific to the company for compliance grading, AI governance and traceability. So that's what log capture done. I have already shown you these files on the live, right? Then critical task fail, it will gonna stop and show 17 tasks, one fail. So again, the same thing has been mentioned over here. And a data volume benchmark. So I have shown you in my EC2 instance that to test a capability, I ran large CSV with tens of thousands of row. So basically the ingestion performed efficiently and consistently, and this ensure that ethermart can scale with a business growth, why whether it's serving 1,000 customer today or 1 million in the future, right? Like this way. Then about the features, so a key resilience feature I'll gonna explain you. So this system to build survive features, right? Like it will gonna schema recreation on demand, then a data validation before loading, then a referential integrity check, then automated metadata captures. These features are standard in enterprise grade engineering system, right? And it's like important for the Ethermat especially. So like there are no partial load thanks to atomic operations, right? And then an immediate pipeline halt upon the critical load failure happen during any downtime or network failure. Then output summarize ensure that traceability for all 550K plus rows which are processed thoroughly. Then a consistent schema recreation will gonna eliminate any corruption in between, right? And use of staging to transformation and then load pattern, which will gonna improve a recovery and troubleshooting, which is debugging as well, right? So then a data quality integration and review failure. So like in this milestone, I have also included a real world massive data. For example, in the review data set, the rating column contain a string invalid instead of number, right? So the validation layer caught this error, rejected the load, and triggered a safe pipeline shutdown. So this is exactly how companies protect their dashboards from, inaccurate ratings. For example, in Amazon, reviews must be strictly validated to avoid any false sentiment. So that's what mentioned over here about no negative order total. Then a product foreign keys must match a supplier and category, right? A customer ID must reference existing customer, and yeah. So architecture block diagram. So the diagram summarize, like the entire system from ingestion to staging, then a transformation, then a validation, and then a final load. So each component is orchestrated, logged, and then auditable as well. So this layered design, mimics a modern lakehouse plus warehouse style architecture, which every company follows. Okay. So, yeah, like the summary so far in this pipeline, I would say it's a reliable, reproducible, scalable, and fully traceable as well. But the future enhancement still I would suggest is like there should be a parallel execution, a centralized logging via CloudWatch, integration via Airflow, and open lineage tracking. These additions will align with the pipeline, in the real world industry to follow best practices. So yeah, let's move to a next topic, which is a governance. So why data governance matters? Okay, like this is a governance hook embedded. Okay, why data governance matter is basically Ethermart handles customer PII like a personal information and large data volumes, right? So without governance, risks include of inaccurate reporting, compliance violation, and poor decision making for the future decision in the business in the company, right? So let's say a target experience a major issue due to inconsistent product category data before implementing the strong governance. So the governance ensure that Ethermat maintains a trust, accuracy, and compliance as well. So that's what the challenges are mentioned, like a fragmented multi-channel data. It's coming from various like a CSV APIs and EC2 instances, right? And again, a PII exposure risk, like there are 100K plus customer with their name, email, phone number, sometimes their, card information as well. So inconsistent data quality, like any type of missing value, invalid writing, mismatch foreign keys will gonna cause an issue. So for auditing pressure from compliance and legal teams, this is required. Okay. So about the core governance principles, so Ethermat follows established governance standard, which are data quality, right? Then a metadata management, a lineage tracking, data privacy, security, compliance, and lifecycle management. So this all the principle ensured a structured and a responsible data use. Like each of the principle has been mentioned over here. So data quality rules per data set, like different data sets enforce the different rules, right? So let's say customer emails, which is again contained under PII, must be a valid. That should be a particular valid email format with at the rate with dot com. Same way in phone number, it should start with a country code and then a 10 digit followed by 3, 3 and 4, right? Then a mandatory fields like first name, last name, email should be there. There should not be any duplication in email and customer ID combined, right? Then in orders table, order must reference a validate, to validate customer ID. Then order date must not be null, right? Order total should be greater than zero and status should reflect either completed, pending, or cancelled. About products and suppliers, so like prices must be positive and a category and supply foreign key should have been validated. Same way in review must be should be between 1 to 5 and should not be negative, right? So these rules mirror a real practices. For example, banks reject a transaction with a negative amounts or invalid account ID which does not exist. So yeah. Metadata management. So metadata captures a schema definitions, right? A column meanings, update frequency, record counts, and a load timestamp. So this makes it easy for the business analyst team to understand the concept, like the context behind each table. It's similar to how AWS Glue catalogs, a metadata for enterprise users. So yeah, the technical metadata has been shown like a table names, columns name, data type, then a business metadata like a data owner, like in the Ethermart, Sarah for the product data and Maria for personal information and update frequency, right? And operational metadata, which I just mentioned about the load timestamp, runtime duration, right? Repository like a GitHub, pipeline logs, all those things. So a data lineage framework, lineage tracks the flow of data from source to staging to transformation and the final layer, right? So this will allow an auditors and engineers to again trace the origin of any output. For example, let's say an Airbnb uses a lineage to trace why a listing prices appears incorrectly in a dashboard, right? So source lineage, a CSV file uploaded to EC2, okay. Then a file timestamp and byte size will be recorded. A naming convention will be followed, then a transformation lineage, a captured by orchestra logs, right? The way I just shown you, like a state duration, record counts, error, success, null trimming, formatting, then a load lineage. In the final table, it will gonna reflect the count match with the source staging tables. Primary key, foreign key, integrity check will be gonna logged. Load timestamps will be recorded, and then an operational lineage. So like a per task metadata stored inside that result.json file we have created under that logs folder or directory. Then a unique run ID is tied to an EC2 instance execution, and this will give an Ethermart an auditable story for every data set when it's needed in future, right? About the data stewardship roles. So, like roles ensures an accountability, product data owner, customer data owner, lead data engineer, and CTO. So, in our case, Sarah Chen, a product data owner, which will oversee a product supplier and category accuracy. So, request new attributes and product metrics, ensure that a product taxonomy is consistent, right? Then a Maria, again, a customer and personal information steward, which will gonna ensure that all the information are compliance friendly with data privacy regulation. She'll gonna approve PII retention and masking strategy, works with the legal team on GDPR or CCPA, right? A data engineer who owns ETL pipeline, lineage and orchestration he'll gonna implement a quality check and logging again. Then an Alex scheme CTO will gonna approve all the architectural direction, ensure that all security posture and scalability are on place. And it also aligns with the government, governance strategy to a business goal. So like this all alignments mirror that an enterprise governance teams, where responsibility is very clear, follow all the rules and regulations. A PII governance framework. So, like AetherMart handles a sensitive customer information, right? So, data is classified into tiers, masked where necessary, right? And restricted through RBAC. So, future improvements include encryption and anonymized data sets. So, this will align with the GDPR and CCPA expectation. Basically, a PII classification, let's say in tier one, which is very critical, email, phone, and address will be there, and tier two, city, state, and what they have purchased. In tier three, anonymized insights, right? So a PII will gonna control a row level RBAC for analyst, sensitive field masked in logs and exports. No PII printed during any staging or load steps, and PII will be encrypted, after the plan upgrade. So these are the rules which we'll have to follow. Like PII never stored in debug logs, PII masked for the future dashboards, and non-production environment will use anonymized data sets. Okay. A data catalog structure. So each data sets include a description, owner, update frequency and quality rules, right? So a description, again a row ingestion of customer PII owner, in this case Maria Rodriguez, data type staging, columns customer ID, first name, last name, email, all these things. Then a quality rules, email format check, null check, first name, last name mandatory check. Then lineage links, again transform customers to a customer, and then update frequency on every pipeline run. This considered as a tier 1, which I have shown you because PI classification tier 1, right? So this catalog will grow as Ethermart expands, so supporting analyst, engineer, and compliance team, again very important to ensure transparency and audit readiness, right? Compliance alignment. So Ethermart prepares for GDPR and CCPA compliance by embedding a right to access, right to decision, and data retention rules, right? A transparent data usage rule as well. So these all are requirement for the company to operate globally. The GDPR, again, right to access, right to deletion, consent-based data usage, CCPA, consumer data disclosure, opt-out handling, and PII classification will gonna, set a benchmark for security of encryption in transit, role-based DB access, and handled EC2 environment, like compliantly. So this all comes under corporate policies of data retention standards, PII storage and masking, approval workflows for schema changes. Okay. Then a governance dashboard. So a future dashboard include invalid value counts, null value trends, a drift detection, and a audit history. Okay, so this again will help Ethermart proactively to detect issues and maintain trust. Quality metrics will have invalid reviews count, null value trend, a data drift detection, right? A pipeline metrics will gonna include a task duration history, failure frequency by a particular data set, how many times the retry has been attempted and what is the pattern, and a compliance indicator, again a PII access logs, classification heat maps, when the last audit happened, on which date, for how many time, right? This dashboard supports proactive data management. Then a governance summary and a future enhancement. So we'll conclude this topic. So to summarize, I would say this project or this milestone establishes a strong governance foundation, ensuring that reports are accurate, which provide a consistent data for powering analytics for any business analytics team. Then a clear ownership across all the business units, right? Proactively quality controls, right? Like a reliable data sets, preventing broken dashboards. Then a complete audit trail for compliance team and a sustainable framework supporting the future scaling as Ethermart grows, right? Data governance transforms raw ingestion into a trustworthy business intelligence. Future governance enhancement, again, I would say automated proofing using pandas plus grid expectation, full metadata catalog via AWS Glue, then a lineage visualization, like a PII tokenization and field level encryption and machine learning based anomaly detection for, like any type of fraud happen in reviews. So yeah, the last topic for this milestone is security and privacy assessment. So, to give an overview, security assessment will gonna evaluate your infrastructure, your database, your ELT pipeline, and then application dependencies. So, the goal is to protect customer data and enforce the best practices. Okay, where at the end I'll gonna show you threat modeling and remediation roadmap as well. So, yeah, infrastructure security findings. Before going to that, let's assess assessment objectives. So, Ether might process a large volume of sensitive customer data, right? So, identifying all the vulnerabilities on EC2 dataset or even during ETL is very important, right? So, reviewing a network posture, access controls, and authentication, analyzing data movement between the staging, like ingestion staging to final tables, ensuring the ETL orchestration logs never leak any sensitive data. Like in this case, PII, if it's health sector, again, PHI also comes into the picture. So, like any medications, hospitalization can cause very harm to a patient. So prioritizing remediation to meet enterprise security expectation is very important because eventually we want to build a secure, compliant, and audit-ready data processing environment. So scope of security review. We have infrastructure layer, right? AWS EC2 instance, like a firewall rules and network configuration data layer, MariaDB schema along with PII storage and all type of access privileges we have given to all the users. Pipeline layer where we have implemented that Python orchestrator file, the log generation, right, the directory, file handling, all the CSV we have imported, and then application layer where all types of dependency vulnerabilities, Python library and versions are there, right? So this will gonna ensure an end-to-end security coverage for the complete ELT pipeline life cycle. Okay, about infrastructure security findings. So the strands are SSH key based access. Okay. So EC2 instance use an SSH key based authentication. A Python virtual environment reduce dependency conflict. Like, you know, um, MariaDB also installed with a restricted local permissions where we have given it manually to the user. A role based access also, come along with that. So risk identified, again, like open security group. So no security group restriction has been documented. Then missing firewall configuration, missing automated patching for operating system level packages. No intrusion detection for brute force monitoring. And this will gonna impact attackers, and they could also potentially scan open ports or exploit and unpatched packages. So, like a real example, I would say Capital One's major cloud breach occurred due to misconfigured access controls, showing how important this area is as well. So, database security assessment. So again, strength are strong constraints, no PII in logs, like I mentioned, separate staging and final schema system enforces that a strict primary and foreign key constraint and error message do not reveal a personal information of customer. But the concerns or the risk is like a PII stored in a clear text. Okay, there is no encryption, it's stored in clear text. Then no encryption as rest. Okay, no, then no column level masking or hashing. Root level database user may still have a broad privilege to other databases as well. No connection level TLS enforcement. So improving this will strengthen a compliance and a customer trust as well. So, and again, it can impact a compromised DB instance could expose all customer information to a hacker in dark web. Okay. PII handling risk. Okay, so this again a customer name, email, phone, address exists in a raw form. Okay, so retention policies and maskings are not yet implemented. So to meet all the GDPR expectation, this must be tightened. So that's what I explained. Like all the customer orders, like all the information of PII address, phone number, shipping address, purchase history are not encrypted. So PI stored in row staging tables without masking, no retention window defined, no right to erasure workflow, and logs might capture row counts but could accidentally capture names which contains PII. So it will gonna violate our rule, right? ETL pipeline security. So again, strands are we have no PII in logs, okay? Then a local only processing, that means like a row CSV process entirely within ECW, like EC2, no external transfer happen. Then a staging pipeline includes a validation steps that prevent, corrupt data loads. Vulnerabilities again, like a CSV files are unencrypted on disk, right? No secure file deletion after processing. Orchestrator does not validate file authenticity, and error traces may reveal a system paths to an attacker. So no authenticity checks eventually. So this will gonna impact unauthorized access, and it could expose all source file to a hacker. And these gaps can be addressed with an encryption and integrity validation, I would say. Then logging security review. So logs are detailed and useful again, but it requires a rotation, encryption, and a restricted access. So that's what mentioned that the good thing are provide transparency and traceability. No customer name or email. Logs file uniquely named per run. But the gaps are again logs are not rotated or paused. Like there is a risk of long-term PII exposure. Logs file are not encrypted and file system permission are not explicitly locked down. So the impact is logs can become sensitive assets if not managed securely. And many security incidents might occur because of logs contain sensitive information. Network and access control review. So IAM roles and firewall rules need a further hardening. This principle of least privilege is again essential to reduce an exposure. Access management. No MFA enforced for EC2 instances, no IAM role has been defined, and no least privilege has been defined, like on the root level for ETL pipeline. In network, no VPC or subnet level isolation mentioned. Then a MariaDB likely running on default port without any restriction. No IP allowed listing has been, and this can impact a weak access control, which will gonna increase an attack surface to attack by any attackers in the, like a hacker in the dark web or even in the live virtual environment. Okay. Dependency and runtime security. So Python libraries can introduce a vulnerabilities. Regular scanning and patching becomes very important, which will gonna protect the dependency chain. So this aligns with a DevSecOps practices used by companies like nowadays Meta and Google. So yeah, that's what mentioned about the Python libraries installed manually, which has outdated version, no dependency scanning tool, no virtual environment, finding an absence of patching, vulnerabilities patching in cycle, and it can impact malicious packages or, you know, like known CVs. So yeah. Threat modeling summary. So I have explained you an unauthorized access, right? About the misconfigured security groups, data exfiltration, which is unencrypted CSV files, data manipulation, like a reviews rating can be corrupted, insider threat, so DB root access for all operations from inside like a system. Some employee who has access to other database can be a threat, lack of audit trails for DB queries, and a service disruption, like no monitoring or alerts for EC2 usage in case if anything fail, or no rate limits or anomaly detection. So this model guides, for future security enhancement, a redemption roadmap. So again, very important. Immediate actions include a firewall configuration, first of all, limited database users, and a file encryption. I would say so. That's what mention a firewall encryption, list privileges, encrypt CSV file at traced, and add secure deletion after load. um, Medium term solution will be a field level masking for all personal information column, enforce SSL protocol for MariaDB connection, add PIP audit and dependency scanning, and rotate your SSL keys and enable, MFA, right? Or a two-factor authentication. And the long-term actions I would say include VPC migrations, or a secrets manager, a field level encryption, column level encryption, implement a role-wise plus secrets manager, then or an intrusion detection as well. Security maturity roadmap. So this roadmap shows like how AetherMart will progress from basic security to enterprise grade controls, like a step-by-step approaches will gonna ensure a sustainable improvement. So in level one, we're gonna do a short term which is single EC2 instance, manual CSV integration, limited controls. Then in level 2, RBAC encrypted log, VPC isolation. Then in level 3, we have automated governance, Airflow based secure orchestrator, and tokenized PII. Then in level 4, enterprise level SOC2 readiness, audit dashboards, end-to-end lineage, right? So I think currently at Ethermart, we are at level 1.5. From that, we have to transform to level 2 transition, right? Final summary. So this milestone, I would say, has delivered a scalable ETL architecture from an engineering perspective, but it needs a security foundation, okay? Uh, a custom orchestration engine, a strong governance foundation has been needed. Like a PII exposure risk is the highest priority because it's a enterprise customer directory company. So database and EC2 needs a hardened configurations. Logs must be encrypted, rotated, and access controlled. Network posture must shift to a least privilege, and the governance improvements will gonna support enterprise standards. So like a complete security review, these components together, form professional enterprise ready data ecosystem. So that's what the roadmap has been recommended, that Ethermat can reach enterprise grade security and fully support scale, compliance, and trust to the end customer. AI usage and disclosure. Again, very important. So yeah, I have used Gemini, Code LLMA, you know, um, Cloud for like a few debugging part. Uh, yeah, so AI tools supported documentation and formatting, but all engineering logic, like coding, validation, debugging, and orchestration design were built manually by me. So, like in conceptual design, specifically for a framework like PII compliance section, I use Gemini, right? Then code implementation, I use Code LLMA, and like Cloud for advanced ETL orchestration Python script, which helped me for all the logic and logging decorators, documentation and analysis. So again, I use Gemini to make sure my content of the PPT has been as per the milestone deliverables, to refine like an executive summary for slide titles, and final project synthesis to focus on business impact for Alex scheme. Like that's how I thought and created PPT, make sure everything aligned as per deliverables. So yeah, I use this AI tools. Okay. Thank you so much for listening and making up to 40-45 minutes. I'm not sure. I know it's a bit long, but I want to cover governance, all the security vulnerabilities, everything, and also show a script what I did in EC2 instance. So sorry if the video has been little bit longer, but yeah, like based on this project, I have reinforced my understanding of building a scalable, ETL pipelines, establishing a strong data governance, ensuring all the security management and creating a traceable, compliant audit ready workflows. So this is what I have achieved. Thank you so much once again. If you have any questions regarding the same, feel free to reach out to me on darshil.rayjada@tamu.edu. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a wonderful day ahead.